Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka Podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka, a mini-sode, because we had a heavy episode last week. We have big animes coming up in the future, and we just wanted to take this week to just kind of relax. Normally, we are a podcast that every 2 weeks watches an anime and talks about it. This is the week in between where we do a mini-sode and just talk about random topics we come up with, usually related to anime, or in this case, cousins. Guys, we know cousins, so
Cousins to anime. Yes.
We are talking about role-playing games and Japanese role-playing games versus Western role-playing games. To do that, we need the guys who play games more than anybody else I know. First off, you don't worry about it. We have the Dovahkiin. Dovahkiin to my Skyrim. Jerry.
So offended.
How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I kind of miss Skyrim now that you mentioned it. I want to play it again.
No. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have brought
Actually,
it.
it's just about time to reinstall, isn't it?
It is. It really is. No, I'm still doing that mod compilation for XCOM 2, and I think I'm starting work on some classes now. Once I get some classes going, then it'll be time to kick it into gear.
My cat's
how about
eating
you?
Doritos, and I'm fascinated.
Is that...
On the other side, we have the Cloud dressed in drag to my Final Fantasy VII. Jason, how are you?
I have not seen this. This is
Wait, have you never played Final Fantasy VII?
Oh, you're right.
The intro.
Everyone forgets that part, but yeah, there's a whole part where you're dressed in drag for a long time.
Yep.
Well, I'm still grinding on Path of Exile. I've been able to defeat the 4 guardians protecting the last boss, but still not able to get the last boss down. And also switching between that and Oxygen Not Included. A new update came out. And,
yeah. Do you guys ever watch television?
No.
I watch the news.
Anime is really the only stuff that I watch besides YouTube.
Okay.
I saw a little bit of Portlandia.
Oh, there you go. That's counts as television.
That's TV.
Kyle on I can't remember his show, but he calculated how fast Tails would have to spin in order for him to lift him and Sonic.
Oh, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, he did the same calculations that like helicopters do. So,
oh, that's awesome.
And my name is Troy. I guess I haven't actually watched anything too new. I've been
watch something
Throwing
about
Stones.
You watched something about a horse head or something, right?
Not yet. Yeah.
No, he is a horse. He's
BoJack. Yeah, he's BoJack Horseman, and
He's
season
just
4 just came out, and I'm very excited because Rick and Morty took a week off, so I didn't get my depressing melodrama comedy. And if you want to feel like life has no meaning, BoJack Horseman will get you there.
So he's like a depressed furry? Is that?
No, he's an actual horse.
It's a world where there's a lot of different animals that are anthropomorphic and they're integrated into society with people.
Okay, so it's like a real My Little Pony.
But
like all animals are people, and all people are people, and they just function together. And he's a former sitcom star of Horsing Around, who's now a depressed alcoholic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it really explores nihilism in a very satisfying way.
Right. It's very fun. And also, the animal humor is very funny. like a bird will poop on its own car and walk away. Because they still have like their traits, but they're also people.
Is it animated?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It takes a little bit to get used to, but it is like Jason hit it. It's nihilistic satisfaction in the perfect way.
It reminds me of that Adult Swim cartoon where it was just a butt police officer, Mr. Butts.
No, it's not that silly.
No? Oh, okay.
Actually, one of the most inspirational things I've ever heard came from that show. He's working out with this workout trainer, and he falls on the ground. He's just like, "Oh, this is really hard." He's like, "Does it ever get easier?" And his trainer's like, "Yeah, it gets easier, but you have to do it every day. That's the hard part." It's like, oh.
And then next season he gives up and starts coming out of college. Because life has no meaning. Right. Guys, let's talk about what we're here to actually talk about, which is the, like I said, Japanese RPGs versus Western RPGs and the good points and bad points of both. And I kind of, especially in our notes, I framed it from the JRPG because we are an anime podcast. So JRPGs are like a close cousin. They share a lot of similarities, which is going to count for a lot of their strengths and weaknesses. They get it from anime. So let's...
The reason I wanted to bring this up specifically is I saw a review for Nier Automata.
Okay. Yeah, Automata.
Yeah. Fantastic reviews. The gameplay I've seen is amazing. And it's funny because it switches genres of games in the game.
Yeah.
In the mini games you're doing. And it got me thinking because I had a really fairly deep conversation about the Final Fantasies with my chiropractor of all people.
Oh man,
okay. Weird.
And it got me thinking that, you know, there's a lot of things that JRPGs do that are fantastic, and then there's other things that Western RPGs just do better.
Oh yeah,
just from a lot of the game mechanics standpoint. So I wanted to explore like your guys' thoughts on like what do you feel JRPGs excel at, and what do you think they don't in relation to like Western RPGs?
Okay, so let's start with the excel. Let's go to the good stuff. What are JRPGs doing that Western RPGs can't do?
It's not that they can't do it. I think in some instances
cannot handle it. The audience cannot handle it.
Can you be more specific?
Nope.
Okay. I think majority of the time, JRPGs are so much better at world building than Western RPGs. Because Western RPGs fall into the tropes of fantasy. And unfortunately, fantasy in today's world, with as many games as there are, get slapped with this label. And if I say fantasy game, you can go, oh, you know, skill trees, healer, tank, DPS. Like there's these things that you're just attached to it. But then you go over to the JRPG world, and then all of a sudden you've got gun swords and Bahamut's. And
so I would say creativity falls in the JRPG side.
Absolutely. I think they're just so great at their world building, though, specifically.
I don't know if I agree with world building because I feel like a lot. This is a disadvantage. JRPGs a lot of times don't make sense. Their worlds don't really make sense. Think about Final Fantasy VII. How does that world even work? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so let me reframe it then. The creativity they have with the world building, because you go Final Fantasy 1 through 15, every single one of them is different. Yet you walk into it not only expecting that, but just being able to fall into it without a lot of explanations.
Okay, that I fully agree with.
But when I play games like Skyrim, there's a very set structure that I expect. And actually, I expect it out of my mods. Like I don't install too many non-lore friendly mods just because it bugs the back of my brain. But when I play a game like Final Fantasy X, yeah, volleyballs can be weapons, absolutely.
I think I would categorize that as absurdity almost. Like the idea that JRPGs present, how the way they build their world, they basically often say, you know, here is a topic that we want to use as a theme. Let's build our world around this theme. And if something is absurd, that's okay, because it just emphasizes the theme. You know, look at Tales of Symphonia, right? How much effect music has. Every weapon is an instrument, right? And music is the greatest weapon of all in that game. I've only played a little tiny bit of it, but there's actually an interesting theory out there regarding Final Fantasy as a series, and that in the first game, like the original Final Fantasy, there's a crystal or something that shatters, and it's believed, according to this theory, that all of the following Final Fantasy games are simply the splinter worlds that come from that same history.
Huh.
And they're all different parallel universes. And that's
why Sid's in every single.
Yes, and that's why the people are always, there's something to relate. Of course, it's just a theory. There's no foundation for it other than that. But I think that, I would have to say that the JRPGs really excel at, because they generally do not have a choice-based system, they have a story they're trying to tell you from the beginning through the middle to the end. And there have been a little bit more cross-pollination to where they've been trying to start doing that. But for the most part, I would say JRPGs are known for trying to give you a completely finished linear story. And so they can write one that's really, even if it's a little bit silly sometimes, entertaining and
15.
satisfying. Final Fantasy 15.
What are you trying to say? You got a problem with J-pop boy band traveling the country slaying monsters? Because I don't.
Yeah, see, it appeals to a certain kind of person. And
smart people, awesome people. I'm assuming that's what you must be meaning.
Yeah, the people that own PS4s. Yeah.
One thing I think that JRPGs can do is twist their genre more, twist their gameplay more. And Persona comes to mind. They're not afraid to hey, what if we took a dating sim and a dungeon crawling RPG and mashed them together and made them awesome. And I can't think of any Western RPGs that do something similar. Skyrim has no.
Don't say Skyrim has no, because the modding is just.
Oh, no, it's probably out there somewhere.
But they had building, I guess you could say, base building kind of stuff.
Fallout.
But modding, but I also don't think modding should count too much, because we're talking about what the game publisher pushes out to sell.
Okay,
and what they're willing to do. Whereas Western RPGs, I think, are trying to fit more into. They want to fit their mold. They want to hit their customer base. And JRPGs are yeah, but what if these high school people also put guns to their heads and then monsters come out of them, and those monsters fight?
Yeah, that's where I say the absurdity is a strong suit. Because they can take something that would be perfectly at home in an anime, and we would just go, yeah, that's how this universe works, and they can write a story around it, and it's fun, it's entertaining.
You just hit the nail on the head, I think, Troy. Western RPG makers, especially successful ones, go, okay, audience, what do you want us to give you? And then JRPGs are like, dude, look what I made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On the Western side, their stories tend to make more sense. For example, I still don't know what Cloud was in Final Fantasy VII, because at one point I believed he was a Sephiroth clone. He was not a soldier. What was he?
I thought he was a soldier.
No, he was never a soldier. He was I believe he was a random grunt who got experimented on at right at the right time and became a weird super soldier, but he wasn't like any of the other super soldiers, but he's also not a clone of Sephiroth, even though he thought he was and acted like see, it doesn't make sense.
But also it doesn't have to.
Right, because absurdity. It fits the anime mold that comes before it.
Right, but I get to the end of the game and I'm like, I don't know what just happened. And we're at the end of and I get to the end of Skyrim, I'm like, yeah, there was a dragon, destroyed the world. I was gonna, I took care of it. It's fine. I get it.
Actually, that's one of the disadvantages I think a lot of JRPGs have is story holes. And here's a really great example. I drilled you on this for probably a good 15 minutes, and I still don't have a good grasp on it. But I was like, okay, did you play Final Fantasy X2? Okay, why did what's-his-face come back if the Faith is sleeping? And then you're like, oh, because they were wanted to give her a gift. And it's like, okay, so they're going to eternally sleep, which was the original issue. They're going to eternally dream now to keep him alive because they're thankful, but they want to go to sleep forever. So
if you want proof that JRPGs are hard, try to explain Kingdom Hearts to someone.
Just try and sell it.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Someone comes up, what's Skyrim about? Oh, you're
the Dragonborn.
Dragonborn, and you have to slay dragons and save
Yeah.
the kingdom. Oh, I
What
get
more
that.
do you need to
What's
know?
Kingdom Hearts about? You're a little boy on an orphan island. You team up with Mickey Mouse, and you have to fight Final Fantasy monsters with a keyblade. What's keyblade? Well, it's like a sword, but it also magically opens and shuts worlds and travels through other dimensions, and it can teleport. And there's 1,000 of them.
And can unlock your heart or something, right?
Oh yeah,
Which is the most powerful weapon of all.
but not your actual physical heart.
Oh.
It really means your soul,
Oh.
but they call it a heart.
Oh.
And if enough hearts get together, it creates Kingdom Hearts.
Oh
which
God.
we don't know what that is. Look, you can't. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
so
not.
hard.
Oh, that's a game I want to play.
Oh.
Which, by the way, Kingdom Hearts is amazing.
So
I named a kid after it.
And I think one place that a lot of Western RPGs tend to excel at, but also gets a bit boring because it's kind of the mold, is skill systems. Except for Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X, I think, hit it on the head as far as not only replayability, but also building your characters, or at least giving you that option. Instead of, I have White Mage, and, oh, I got a staff. I need to assign it to White Mage. Like, with the materia and like putting it in different spots like that was really cool. But I think Western RPGs tend to give a little more direction, but unfortunately they sacrifice a lot of creativity. It, of course, Skyrim being an exception to that. But for instance, World of Warcraft, Rift, Destiny, just all those MMOs. They give you like 3 templates, and that's what you get.
Yeah, but then you've got things like Gothic, you've got Might and Magic, where it's like, oh God, what is it called? It's like False Prophet or something like that. You've got a lot of open, like for me, when you say Western RPGs, I think of big open world RPGs. And those are something that, right now JRPGs are kind of cross-pollinating with.
They are.
But especially with Final Fantasy 15, like you mentioned.
Yeah. It basically saw The Witcher and was like, what if we did Final Fantasy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Except instead of riding a horse, you drove a car.
Right.
Your buddy's shirt off.
Boy band.
To be fair, I also flew that car.
Oh, level 2. And so it's just, I don't know. There's something that's I think there's actually more freedom, way more freedom in the Western RPGs to be able to, especially those open world ones, to express the kind of character that you want to play. Whereas in a lot of the JRPGs, because they're telling you that story, not only are the characters constricted most of the time to the kind of roles that they were put into, but even the story itself, you can't influence the world beyond what they decided you're going to influence the world.
Well, most JRPGs are lead you by the nose. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think you kind of concisely put together what I was trying to say with Western RPGs, how they excel a little better than JRPGs is you can create a character that is your playstyle that you want to.
So and then you can also alter the world in some cases for the well put together one like Divinity Original Sin.
Want to play that.
Oh, it's great. You have so much freedom to affect the world around you.
You can kill the quest givers. That's amazing.
Ultima 7. You could do the same thing in the Ultima series. You could kill the king, King of Britannia. It's amazing. You just click on that little sign above his head and it falls on him. It's great.
So to wrap up, I have one last question for you. Overall, as much as you can think of, which one's tropier?
Oh, I think anime JRPG ones are tropier.
But you gotta remember Western fantasy tropes. Dragon slaying is a trope. Skyrim is super tropey if you think of it as just classic fantasy.
If you're not going to take the lore into consideration, that it's one big trope game,
right?
I mean,
whereas JRPGs are like, hey, look at Tifa. Here's a trope. Cloud is a walking anime trope of I'm not saying neither are trope. They're both super tropey. I just want to know, in your opinion, which one's more.
I because of the creativity, I would say I would expect more tropes out of Western than I would out of JRPGs.
I'll say I think the Western is more tropey. I think the Japanese RPGs tropes are they wear you down faster. Like they're worse tropes to use, right? Like I'm okay with another dragon slaying mission, but do we have to have another no armor, big bouncing female fatale with guns for wrist rockets or whatever?
So just, as far as tropes, by the way, the one trope that JRPGs tend to have always is you have a summoner, and the summons are either 20 minutes long as a cinematic, or it's something freaking weird like 10, where she summons that mummy thing that if you get special power, your enemy will sink to its like lower half, where there's like another like person thing that's chained, and then it will like beat him up. And,
Anima? Yeah. Wasn't it called Anima?
Yes.
Anima? It's called Anima.
Anima.
Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. Yes.
Well, did Jeremy get a chance to answer?
I definitely think, like, in my opinion, I would say that the anime ones are a bit more tropey, because I think that a lot of the Western tropes are just tropes of stories, but the JRPG tropes that I've seen are tropes that specifically are they're in so many JRPGs and so many animes, whereas the other ones, like the Western ones, I can see them anywhere. They're in books, they're in movies, they're like, they saturate Western media, and I would argue maybe even Eastern, or even European media as well. So I don't see them as quite, like you say, quite as when you mentioned the difference being that the the JRPG tropes are a little harder to stomach sometimes. I think I see it as less just because of how difficult it is to stomach the JRPG ones sometimes.
Like Knights of the Round in 7. Oh man.
Yeah. Or
you
like
watch that.
Don't forget to use recast.
Yeah. Yep. Or Terra Online. Anything in that game.
Now Terra Online is beautiful to watch.
Okay, I'm going to wrap us up. If you would like to comment on your thoughts on JRPGs or Western RPGs and the differences between them, feel free to reach out. It's our Twitter is @Baka Podcast. Our email is theanimebakaclub@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment wherever you found this podcast and it'll get back to us. Thank you guys for listening. We are currently watching the first 12 episodes of Recreators. So I hope you're enjoying that, and I hope we are enjoying it as well. We will talk about that next week, and thank you for joining us. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great night.
Sayonara.